Well, good morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome in. It is a brand new week here, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. You might not recognize the other face on the screen because it looks like he's back in his home studio. It doesn't look like a Homewood Suites or a La Quinta. What we got here today?
It's my house. It's my
Oh.
house. Shook my wife's hand, reintroduced myself. No, I'm kidding. Well, I am at home after 7 straight days doing the show away from home, including 5 in a row in hotel rooms last week. I am back at the house, ready to go. It's our first Monday show of March, and March means pause, madness. You can't say it together. But we can say it apart. It is big time basketball season. Loads of questions about what happened. First of all, this past month has been maybe the craziest travel month I've ever had in 23 years as the voice of the Troy Trojans. 3 weeks, and John was every week. He's like, "Where are you now?" 3 weeks ago, 4 days, 5 nights. No, 5 days, 4 nights. 2 weeks ago, 5 days, 4 nights. The week after that, at home, 3 days. This past week, 6 days, 5 nights. Whew. But the Trojans kept on winning, so you're not going to complain anyway. Troy had a big win on Friday against Southern Miss down in Hattiesburg by 12. The first place James Madison team ends up losing to Texas State in double overtime. That means Troy wins a regular season championship. 4-way tie for first. Troy is Sun Belt champions in basketball. Got a big net cutting ceremony tonight. So, John,
when does the Sun Belt Conference tournament begin?
Well, technically, it begins on Tuesday. It begins tomorrow. But Troy, it's the way they've got it worked out. Troy has a bye to the quarterfinal round. So they'll be games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And Troy will leapfrog over all of them to go ahead and make the quarterfinal round of the tournament. So I won't miss any. This week I'll be at home every day of the week. I'll be here the whole time.
They don't play till Saturday?
Yep.
Wow, man,
crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's crazy. And if you win, you play on Sunday in the semis, and the championship game will be on Monday. So I didn't get a chance. We were traveling, and I had, as soon as I got back to Troy Saturday morning at 3:00, I had baseball that afternoon and yesterday afternoon. So I didn't get a chance to watch Auburn's resounding win over Kentucky live, but I saw a ton of highlights, mostly with Miles Kelly hitting 3-pointers. I think he hit 9. In the words of Principal Rooney, he hit 3-pointers 9 times. 9 times.
Yeah, they were hot from behind the arc, to say the least, on Saturday. Kentucky had no answer.
No, and Auburn was just better. I mean, everything I saw, Kentucky's not that great. Auburn's really good. Auburn wins it 94-78. Actually felt like it should have been more than that. And so Auburn hunkered down to watch the basketball game in Knoxville.
Yes.
Didn't feel good about it. Sitting in the locker room watching Alabama leading Tennessee by 4. Alabama led on the road at Tennessee by 4, John, after LeBaron Filan hit 1 of 2 free throws. 36 seconds to go in that game. 36 seconds. Alabama led by 4. How in the world do you let somebody score 7 points in 36 seconds? Well, I ask you.
Yeah. I remember there was some free throws being shot around the 30-second mark.
Yeah, that was Meshack. He scored 5 of those 7 all by himself in the last 30 seconds.
And as I'm listening to the announcers, as this young man's attempting these free throws, Dickie V is just going on and on and on and on. Roll Tide, baby, number 1 seed. Oh, look at old Nate Oates, man. He's got the tide up there where Nick Saban had the football program. I'm thinking,
actually pretty good.
Whoa, Dickie V.
How about
Tap
2
the brakes
claps
here,
and a
buddy.
Ric Flair for John? That's awesome.
This game ain't over yet. Home teams behind. Got the crowd with them. Hold the phone. And I'm sitting there going, That just is the kiss of death. That and some horrible defense along with some questionable coaching can get you beat in the last 30 seconds. And that's basically what happened.
Well, they give up a layup 6 seconds after they get up 4.
To credit Tennessee, I mean, they did make shots. I mean, you got to do that too. So they did make the baskets to get ahead, to tie and to get ahead. But when you play poor defense and your clock management and timeout ratio, I guess is a good way to put it, does not match up, you're hurting yourself. And as Nate Oates said after the game, I mean, he blamed it all on himself, as he should have. But, yeah, I mean, it's a great win for Tennessee. Buzzer beater, wins the game, crowd goes wild, and now Bama's going, oh, wow, now we got to play Florida. And then Auburn, this is looking like an 0-3 week. Got 0-3 written all over it. You can quote me on that.
And, okay, producers, clip and save, and that goes up on social media. I kind of got to go along with our buddy Bama Greg. Bama Greg. Nope, wrong one. Let me get the right one from Bama Greg. Oh, I just had it up there. Anyway, yeah, here we go. Bama Greg says, Coach Oates, what are you doing? You are to blame for this loss. When you have 5 seconds to inbound at 4 seconds, you call timeout. Coaching 101. I wonder whether or not the Alabama fans, the fans that I know and enjoy and treasure, whether there was any profanity when there was that 5-second call with 3 seconds to go in the game. You know, everybody sees the highlights of Meshack hitting that 33-footer at the horn, going crazy and everything. John, it should have never come down to that.
You know, it's I would probably say there was some profanities. Probably should have been. I saw it. I mean, I just kind of saw it and moved on. The wife was doing something else and she came back in the room and said, "Is the game over? Why isn't the game on?" I said, "Game's over." She said, "Really? Why'd you turn the TV off?" I said, "Well, the game's over. I mean, why should I keep it on?" Well, who won?
Save electricity.
Yeah. I said, "How many questions am I going to get today? Come on, let's go." But yeah, I would imagine there were some profanities, the Bama Nation screaming and hollering. And as for the inbounds pass, you could kind of see that coming, Barry, because earlier in the game, Alabama was having difficulty getting the ball in play. And we've seen this happen with previous coaches. And I know Tennessee's known for defense. They really play defense really, really well.
Correct.
But in a situation like that, it's close. As the head coach, you got to be knowing. You got to be counting in your head. And as he said, when he gets to 4, you better call that timeout. You got it in your pocket. You walked off the floor with it. Bad coaching. Made a mistake.
And they had so much writing on that. Anyway, I mentioned Auburn in the locker room watching that game or on the bus or wherever. Kid hits the midcourt shot and everything. That means Auburn clinches the SEC championship. Number 1 seed in the SEC tournament with 2 games to play in the toughest league that there's ever been in the history of college basketball. Now, Auburn's got to go to Texas A&M on Tuesday. 8:00 at night on ESPN, and then they host Alabama on Saturday afternoon at 1:00.
So is Auburn in a position for A&M to take advantage of them? A little fat and happy, excited, won the regular season title, got Bama on the horizon, coming to a late tip in College Station. I don't know if I'm buying that just yet. But I did see the team watching the game on their cell phones on the bus as Tennessee hit the buzzer beater. Was it because they won the regular season championship, or is it that Alabama got beat?
No, it was the regular. It was the regular season championship.
Okay. So
winning that ring, getting that.
Did they roll Toomer's Corner?
Well, if they did, it would it might have been because they won the SEC championship. I would think so. But if they did, they would have had to have the fans would have had to have been listening to Andy Burcham's radio call on that. ABC, what are you doing? The number one team in the country is playing a blue blood on the road. They're about to whip that behind by double digits. And all of a sudden, somebody goes, what was the guy's name? Johnny from Airplane pulls the plug. Oops. And the last whatever, I've seen it before. Heck, we've had, I don't know if people notice, every once in a while we may have a technical difficulty, and it happens. But how in the world does that game go off and never come back?
The way I understand it, and I'm kind of telling on myself that I did not watch the entire game, but I understand around the 9-minute mark that happened.
Yeah, it was a 12-minute mark. It was 12 minutes left.
Listening to the radio broadcast or whatever, I guess the game finally got back on.
Never did.
Never got
the last 12 minutes. Never made it. I don't know. This reminds me of Jim Fife back when Auburn was on probation in '93 and nobody could watch Auburn.
You mean the good old days?
Jim was already fantastic, but he achieved legend status that year because everybody listened to him and realized how good he was and never missed a game and everything. Andy Burcham never had a better listenership in his life than in the last 12 minutes of that basketball game. And they switched to Kansas, Texas Tech. And then they went pregame NHL Penguins and the Bruins instead of watching Auburn beat Kentucky.
You know how Auburn, they win the regular season championship and nobody gets to see them. I mean, they don't get, what luck? I'm telling you, they're snake bit. Unbelievable.
I'm telling you.
So there again, we wrap up the regular season of men's college basketball in the SEC this week.
Yep.
And then we'll head to Nashville for the SEC tournament and then the NCAA tournament to follow after that. I know we're going to talk a lot about that this morning on the program, kind of looking ahead to the NCAA tournament. Yes, the Longshore McKnight NCAA Bracket Challenge is fast approaching, so you need to be thinking a lot about basketball. I know a lot of you are already doing that anyway, with basketball being so exciting for the Tide and the Tigers this season with more to come. But you need to watch some of the other teams as well because you got to fill in 64 teams in the tournament contest. So going to be fun. The next several weeks are going to be a lot of fun with tournament action.
Yeah.
Barry, we got a lot of special things going on here on our Monday edition of Longshore and McKnight. The Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Alabama will join us in about 15 minutes. So Will Ainsworth will join us here on the program. Looking forward to talking to Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth. Our super fan, Josh Harris, I believe, is going to maybe give us his side of the story of what happened in Knoxville on Saturday. I'm sure he might have that hat pulled over his face after that game.
Yeah,
and
no
then
more
Barry,
profanity, Josh. Yep.
We are going to speak to someone that was very instrumental in the Alabama High School Athletic Association Boys State Championship basketball games. As a matter of fact, has been instrumental in it for many, many years from its origins. And that is our producer's father, Gern Sr., who is a basketball aficionado. He is going to give us a little recap and history lesson of this fine tournament. A lot of several local schools won state championships in and around Montgomery over the weekend. And we'll get a recap on that at the bottom of the next hour.
Will he be wearing a mask, or will we have his face blurred or something like that?
We do have the unfocused technology, and then the thing that makes your voice sound different.
Voice processor.
Yeah. So I do think we're getting that software installed as we speak, so there will be no recognition possible of the mystery man.
Huh. Can we ask him questions about other stuff too?
I don't see why not.
Yeah. Hey, UFL starts at the end of the month. Who do you like?
I understand, Barry, no legal questions or we'll have to bill us.
Yeah. Billable hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is underway. Our week's worth of programming, our first day of programming, our first segment of programming. We're glad you're along with us here, wherever you may be consuming our content, John, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Facebook Live, on all kinds of different, on Yellowhammer News and everything. Glad you're along with us. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're with us. About 17 minutes past the hour on this Monday, Longshore and McKnight. Talking a lot of basketball. Some championships have been won. Barry mentioned the Troy Trojans in the Sun Belt, the Auburn Tigers in the SEC regular season champs. Has there been any? I'm sure there has been. I just hadn't looked. Other conferences, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, have their conference regular season champions been crowned as of yet?
We are. There's a lot of them. The Sun Belt is only one where the regular season has ended. Only a couple of others go an extra time. You know, I could tell you about the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference or the Horizon League or the Missouri Valley Conference and stuff, but it would fly right over everybody's head.
Yeah.
There's two things. I know there's two things John cannot tell you. Number one, he cannot name a single member of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And number two, he cannot tell you who beat Alabama in the Final Four last year. So, you know, it's
well, I will say this. I can't answer that question. I just can't tell you who the other teams were in the Final Four. Okay. I know UConn and Alabama were. The other two, I'm going to have to think about those for a minute. As far as the Mid-Atlantic.
No, the Metro Atlantic, John. Metro Atlantic.
Is there a Mid-Atlantic?
There's a Mid-America Conference.
Mid-America, see? I'm getting them crossed up. I'm kind of getting them intertwined. Mid-Atlantic, I'm just going to take a shot and go with the Richmond Spiders.
That would be no. Metro Atlantic is like Quinnipiac and Niagara. That's Niagara with an N.
Yeah, those are high school teams. Come on, give me something I can sink my teeth into. I should get credit for knowing that Richmond are the Spiders.
Well, that is pretty, you know.
Not a lot of people would have won money on that one. They would have bet the other way. No way he knows what Richmond is.
John Longshore, sports genius. I'm telling you, people. A little bit later on as well, speaking of sports genius, the Phantom's dog of the day, the daily dog is coming up.
No, we'll wait. We'll wait. We'll wait. Yeah.
Wait until it's absolutely time. So will there be a hangover from Alabama's loss to Tennessee? They have to play at home against a really good Florida team.
Yep.
Their
Who's
chance
coming off
SEC
who recently had an embarrassing loss
to Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, no doubt. Is this for the Tide the classic look-ahead game? Yeah, the Gators, whatever, but I'm telling you, our season will be made if we can go into the SEC tournament with a win over the Aubs at their place and deliver a big old bottle of shut-up juice to those fans in Neville Arena. Will this sort of salve the wounds?
I don't, and as you put it that way, I find that interesting. To answer the question, no, because as I've said all season long, there are lapses with this Alabama basketball team. They play great for 10 minutes, and then there might be like a 4-minute span. You're going, what is all this about? Turnovers, no defense, kind of looks unorganized on offense. They're running around. Nobody can figure out what's going on. So, they just have not been able to avoid those points in the game. I don't ever see that with Auburn. It doesn't matter who's in the game, who's coming off the bench. I never see the lapses. I never see the turnover, a moment in time, 4 or 5 minutes where they're turning the ball over a lot, or offensively they're not real sure what's going on, bad defense. I just don't see that with this Auburn team. I do with the Alabama. So coming off the loss in Knoxville, as tough as that was, certainly had victory in your grasp, as Dickie V said. And then you got to host a Florida team midweek. Go to an Auburn team that's extremely confident at their place. The fans are going to be crazy. So I don't like Alabama's chances this week. I think this could be a real tough week. And, if they lose out, where are they on, where are they seated at that point? Because now people are talking they're on the 2 line. Okay, great. Yeah. But if they lose the next 2, lose early in Nashville, then where are they?
Maybe. That's what Bama Greg says, and it's a good point. He said, I'd rather beat Florida on Wednesday. That might put us back as a 1 seed over them, regardless of the Auburn game. So you've got to, Bama fans, you need to follow Bama Greg. You need to look at the big picture. Instead of just beating your in-state rival, Bama fans, you need to look at the national implications of it all. Look at the big.
Well, that's where I was going to next.
Yeah.
Here's what Bama fans holding out for. They just go further in the tournament than Auburn. That'll satisfy them. That's all they're looking for now. Man, if we can make it to the Final 8 and Yale or Navy or somebody knocks Auburn off in the Sweet 16, that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Who almost beat them that year Auburn went to the Final Four.
That's what they're looking for. Because as well as I do, now I wouldn't stoop to this level, Barry, but as well as I do, if something like that happened, you think Tyler and Sider would be blowing up. They would be so giddy and pinching themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Oh, all that hype over there on the plains. And look at this. They fall flat on their face in the Sweet 16. That's what they're thinking. I know how these people
Can't disagree. I do not feel as though John is incorrect on that issue at all. There are young people who watch our show. We take great pride in our role in nurturing the youth of America. There are young people out there, maybe 1 or 2 years into driving. They've got their license maybe a year, that are still too young to remember when Auburn won the national championship in football.
Whoa.
That was 15 years ago.
Man.
14 years ago. Gentlemen, kids, his name was Cam Newton. There was a little bit of scuttlebutt raised by a certain fan base about it all. And Auburn won the national championship. It's in all the papers. It's official. It wasn't Litkenhouse or it wasn't Helms. It was the whole schmear. Is this, if Auburn goes on to, and they're number 1 team in the country, Philip Marshall said it's the best basketball team in the history of Auburn.
Is that saying that?
That wouldn't be really. That wouldn't be as big of a story as the football title and the Heisman Trophy in 2010. Kids, you're going to have to sit this one out because some people like to keep that one alive for years and years
I'm
afterwards.
about to say, Barry, I don't care what your age is. If you've listened to this program for any amount of time, radio days, podcast days, you're going to know who Cam Newton is. You know who Cam Newton is. I can promise you that. No, doesn't matter what age you are.
Well, let's take an early break because we've got a very special guest coming up. The Lieutenant Governor of this great state of Alabama will join us. Will Ainsworth is part of the program when Longshore and McKnight continues. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, you got to take advantage of the incredible holiday savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where they sell America's best-selling truck for 50 years in a row, the F-150. And you can get an F-150 at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days. Hundreds to choose from. Your F-150 is on the lot right now. Also, F-150 Lightnings, $15,000 off MSRP and 0% APR for 72 months. What about the stylish Ford Bronco? Up to $10,000 off MSRP, starting as low as $34,990. And it started it all with the Ford Explorer. You can get one for up to $8,000 off MSRP, as low as $33,900 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. Folks, Stivers Ford is loaded with cars, trucks, and SUVs priced to sell. Stivers Ford, 4000 Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Back at it on this Monday, and Barry, at this time we're very happy to bring in a guest. I think people are certainly familiar with our Lieutenant Governor, Will Ainsworth, and he joins us here on the program today. Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with y'all. Good to be on the show. Excited to talk about a lot of different things Alabama today.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this. You were in the green room whenever we were discussing Auburn basketball. They look like the surefire #1 team in the country. We're in March now. How do you think it's going to work out for Auburn through the rest of the regular season, SEC tournament, NCAA? You know your sports. How do you see it?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I was actually a freshman at Auburn back in 1999, part of when Cliff Ellis was the coach. We had Mamadou Njai, Bryant Smith, Chris Porter, right? We were good. #1 team in the country when I was a freshman there. This team is a lot better than that team. And I think you look at it, just our depth. You look at the fact we lost, the only 2 losses we got are to the #2 and #3 team in the country. What's interesting about this Auburn team is even when they play bad, they still win because they play such good defense, because they're able to, pass the ball around. And even if a few guys are off, there's other guys that are on. I mean, I think Janai Broome certainly deserves, in my opinion, Player of the Year over Cooper Flagg. I mean, Cooper Flagg's good, don't get me wrong, but Janai Broome, is consistent day in, day out. He had that little stretch where he got injured, but that's not, his fault. And then you look at just our guard play with Pettiford. I love Chad Baker-Mazzaro, just his energy, what he brings. We got to make sure he stays out of foul trouble and doing some of that stuff. But, Miles Kelly hitting 9 threes against Kentucky. That was awesome. And, then you got Denver Jones. That's a good shooter. I mean, so Auburn's deep on the guard play, right? And, it's just like even against the Alabama game, when Alabama tied it up, Pettiford came back down and hit that big 3 that sent the momentum back our way. And so I think the fact we have the depth, I feel good. I think I hate to say this, I don't want to jinx this, but I think this is our year. And, I just think Bruce Pearl, obviously March Madness is crazy. I love it. Tournament time is a lot of fun. I've got twin boys that are in 9th grade. They play basketball. We're a big sports family. But it's just wild. I mean, even you look at just what's going on right now, the Alabama-Tennessee game, right, and how that, turns so quick. You never know what can happen, I guess is my point. But I think this Auburn team is the best I've seen. And, I think they got to – and mainly because of the depth and their defense, right?
Well,
that's what I'm impressed with.
That's an excellent scouting report. I mean, I'm telling you, you hit all the high points. I love
Much respect
I
for
love
it.
sports. So,
Are you telling – Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth used to hang out with the Cliff Dwellers back in the day? Love it.
I did. I was one, yes, back in the day. So I love sports, man. I mean, wasn't good enough to be on the team, but played intramurals, so that was fun.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Well, speaking of sports, go ahead, John. Yeah.
And it's, being the lieutenant governor and representing our whole state, I know it's got to be exciting, gratifying to know that there's so many really good sports programs all over the state, whether it's Auburn, Alabama, Troy, UAB, Jacksonville State. I mean, South Alabama. We are blessed with so many really good sports programs here in Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt. I saw something the other day. It was going through all the different programs in the state that are ranked. And look, I mean, I'm obviously a diehard Auburn fan, but my sister cheered at Alabama. She married a football player. I mean, Alabama's basketball team and what Nate Oates has done is amazing. But it's not just that. I mean, South Alabama's good. Jacksonville's good. You just look across. I mean, UAH, UNA, right? I mean, there's so many good programs in our state, that right now basketball, certainly in Alabama, I'm really proud of what's going on. But I mean, who would have ever thought, right? I mean, I grew up with football, and who would ever thought that right now Auburn and Alabama, when they played, would have been number 1 and number 2 team in the nation, right? And that they're talking about both of them being, potentially 1 seeds, maybe 1 and a 2, in the NCAA. I mean, so it's really good for our state. And, it's exciting. And, just like a few years ago, I mean, Sanford, right, upset some people in the NCAA tournament. So it's fun right now what's going on. And I'm a huge basketball fan. I love it. My boys love it. My family loves it. And, so I'm just glad our state's got it. We got to keep it up. And, what's interesting, I think you look at what Bruce Pearl's done at Auburn and, 5 of the last 8 years, they've even won the SEC outright or won the, SEC tournament. He's one of the best coaches in the country, period. And Nate Oates at Alabama, one of the best coaches in the country. So, I mean, I think basketball is we're going to be a basketball state for a long time. That's exciting.
Well, Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth, speaking of sports, we know that you love the outdoors. We've read reports about the growth of Major League Fishing at Lake Guntersville. Obviously, you're familiar with that area. Tell us a little bit about how that has grown and the impact something like that makes on the community.
Yeah, you can see I'm in my office in Guntersville. These are all mounts of different stuff I've killed before. Love bass fishing. Don't have a lot of time to do it anymore, but I'll say this. I mean, we've got one of the best bass fisheries in the world here. It's part of the Tennessee River system on Lake Guntersville. And, not only that, but we've got great lakes all over this state, right? You think about Lake Eufaula, you look at what's going on just all over. There's great tournaments here. But Major League Fishing is a big deal. And here's what's nuts. I mean, just in, Guntersville, you got Chris Lane, Randy Howe, all these guys that live here in Guntersville that are professional fishermen. And what you've kind of seen is there's this culture now around Guntersville where professional fishermen want to live here. And Major League Fishing headquarters is in Guntersville. And right now the fishery's in one of the best shapes it's been in. I mean, I've talked to guys that consistently are catching, 5, 6, 7 pound fish, and to win a tournament up here, you're having to average, catching 8 pounds, which is just unheard of, right? I mean, that's like, every player on your team hitting, 8 threes, right? It just doesn't happen. I mean, so what's going on at Guntersville, hats off to Alabama Fish and Game, all the local communities, and also the fishermen here take pride, right? They're doing different things to make sure they keep the fish alive, to, make sure that the fishery stays one of the tops. But I mean, it gets a lot of pressure. There's a lot of tournaments. There's people that come from all over the country here. And it's really good because anytime, we like going out on the lake and, kids are into, wakeboarding and all that stuff and, jumping off this thing called Goat Island. But you see there's fishermen all over, right? And it's good for tourism. They're in a restaurant, stayed in our hotels. And so it's a great thing. And I think that's only going to continue to grow.
Will, a topic I know that you're very, very big on and you're pushing big time, and I'm behind you 100%. And it is the widening of I-65 from the state of Tennessee, from the state line, all the way down to the Gulf of America, as we call it today. Just tell us about that. What are the plans? What are we looking at? Because as we all get on I-65 there, more times than not, it can get a little slow and traffic delays and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, like I said, live in Guntersville, going to Montgomery a lot, going all over the state a lot, to be honest. And I-65 is our main, travel corridor. And, honestly, that should have been done 10, 15 years ago. That's one of those things you look at and like, why in the world has this not been done? You may or may not know this, but we've got 8 million tourists a year that are coming to our beaches, right? A lot of them go down 65. And then you look at just the growth in our state. A lot of people are moving here. They like what's going on in our state. And so with that, our plan is, like you said, from Tennessee, love the fact, the Gulf of America. That's great. Love that. But, the goal is this, right? That's going to take a long time to do. It's probably an 8 or 10 year project, realistically.
Yeah, sure.
But the great thing about widening I-65 is that's a federal interstate, and the feds will cover 80% of the cost on that. We just have to come up with a plan. And so, my thing is like, let's get a plan. Let's start on the most congested areas and work our way out. And then let's get this thing done to where in 8 or 10 years, the entire, from Tennessee line down to Gulf of America is 6 lane. And probably in some areas, we need 4 lanes, right? I mean, just to be honest, or even more than that, but I think we've got to do that. And the fact that, the feds are willing to put in 80% of the money, I mean, that's a home run. So
sure. Oh yeah. If there's any leftover concrete or asphalt, could we just 4 lane from Montgomery to Tuscaloosa all the way while we're at it?
There we go. Yeah, we can. Yeah, absolutely. That's 80, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
82.
I call it Haiti. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, I talked to some people the other day that went to the Bama game. Y'all won big that night. I don't know if y'all played
against Kentucky. Yeah, it's Kentucky probably.
They were going through 80. And I'll tell you this, like one of the other things on 65, I was taking my boys up to Rupp Arena, right? And you go up 65 through Tennessee and Kentucky. And then I got, halfway through Tennessee and then Kentucky, and it's all 6 lane. And I'm like, why are other states doing this and not us? And that's really kind of what kicked off the idea in my head that, wait a minute, if other states are drawing down federal money and not us, we might not be doing the smartest thing here.
Well, let me ask you about another issue that you have been integrally involved with and can offer some real good perspective. Alabama, the statistics tell us, lags behind the national average in workforce participation rate. Now, you've been working with leaders throughout the state to help solve this, and it impacts every bit of the economy. What can you tell us about your efforts and what Alabama can do to get people back to work and ease that low participation rate?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, number one thing we hear from industry is the number one limiting factor to growth is not opportunity. It's not taxes, right? It's people, right? They need more people trained. And so we've tried to tackle this. One of the things we did, we have a new workforce scholarship, right? It's a career pathways diploma. And then there's a scholarship option in there for career tech. So the career pathways diploma is for students in high school that we know are not going to go to a community college or a 4-year institution. Mm-hmm. You might be surprised, 47% of the people in Alabama end up not getting a 2 or 4 year degree. So what we want to do is say, hey, we know you're not going to go to a community college, or you don't want to right now. You don't want to, that's fine. You probably got a lot of skills you can do. Let's spend more time in high school getting you trained for a job. I mean, we got a construction company. Just think about framers, electricians, plumbers, roofers, guys doing concrete, dirt work, the manufacturing side, all the jobs. Now let's get those kids in high school and their junior and senior year, they're going to have 2 additional more hours. They're going to take less time in the classroom, more time learning a trade. I think it's going to transform our state. because now we're going to have a huge pipeline of students that are going to be trained for jobs. And when they graduate high school, instead of being ready to go to college, they're going to be trained for a job. It's pretty common sense. So we're excited about that. We also, you know, a lot of people out there have children, right? I've got kids, and, you know, childcare is so expensive. So we also did a childcare tax credit to help families where businesses can help pay for childcare for their employees. And we think that's so important. You know, my wife was a pre-K teacher, and when we had twins first, right? And so we started looking at what it's going to cost for childcare. It was going to be about the same amount as what she made. I think at that point in time, back in 2010, you know, she made like $28,000. Well, heck, after taxes, childcare would have eaten that up. And so we got to find a way to help. And so I think, one, having a diploma is going to help people. You know, having some dual enrollment options while they're in high school to get trained, and then also a child care tax credit is going to help families, and we think that's a good thing.
Lieutenant Governor, you've been over the Military Stability Commission for years, and y'all passed a lot of veterans bills to make the state better for active duty service members, their families, and veterans here in the state. And I understand there currently is an issue up for debate in Alabama about the Department of Veterans Affairs. Talk about that and what you view is the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so first, greatest honor to be a lieutenant governor, hands down, is to represent our active military and our veterans. I mean, we don't have a state or a country if it's not for our military. So feel very honored to get to represent them. You might also know we're the #2 state right now in the country for veterans to retire in, and super proud of that and the work we've done. So my argument's been we're doing a lot of things right, okay, on the veterans side. And why change something that's not broken, right? And so when you look at, you know, what's going on, the issue on the veterans issue is, you know, you've got a lot of things called VSO, which is Veteran Service Organizations. And this is where veterans, when they retire, they donate their time. Those groups kind of determine what's going on the board. And, you know, while it makes probably some sense to have that, Veterans Office under the governor's cabinet position, it also doesn't make sense to take away the veterans' voice. I mean, you know, they're the ones that served our country and deserve to still be a part of that. And I think making it political is dangerous, honestly. So that's kind of my position on that. I think it's not broke. You know, why try to fix it? And I think, you know, what we're doing for veterans is amazing. And, you know, I want to make sure veterans still have a voice. I think that's so important to hear from veterans about mental health, about suicide prevention, about how do we get them into the workforce, right? All these different things that are so important. And, you know, let's just, you know, I'm not a veteran, so that's why I want to rely on veterans to, you know, tell me what we can do to help other veterans.
Sure. Let me ask you one more question here before we go. You have worked so hard on behalf of the people of Alabama, and I'm interested from a personal level, what drives you? I mean, the effort has always been there, and you've already mentioned, you know, you crisscross the state here and there. The public service aspect of what you do really seems to drive you, Lieutenant Governor. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, good question. I think you've got, you know, one life to make a difference. You better make a difference while you're here. I'm also competitive and like to win. I want to make sure Alabama's the best in everything we do. And so I think just the competitive nature I was born with, and also having the mentality that we better all make a difference, you know, while we're here, no matter what opportunity or, you know, skill sets you got, try to be the best and make a difference. So that's kind of what drives me. And, you know, I'm very bullish on Alabama as a state. I think we've got a lot of good things going. I think we got to continue to improve. But, I mean, I think we've got one of the best states, and let's just continue to make it better.
Let me ask you this before we let you go. You had mentioned earlier your sister was a cheerleader at Alabama?
Yeah, she actually my sister's a cheerleader at Alabama, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated campus edition when I was at Auburn, which was tough, right? And then Carlos Dansby was the Auburn guy. Anyway, I'll send that to you sometime. But yes,
so let me ask you this. What's it like around Thanksgiving at your house? You know, right around Iron Bowl time, and you got the Alabama cheerleader, you're the Auburn guy. I just can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah, so and she married a guy that was the tight end when Brody Kroll was quarterback, named Clint Johnston.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, and the only time we've ever got into it's over Auburn, Alabama stuff. And he's a good guy, but a diehard Bama fan. And so now we just we don't go to games together, and it works out fine. So,
I'll give you a little quick story. My family's the same way, Lieutenant Governor. The Auburn side watches the game at their house. The Alabama side watches it at their house. And when the game's over, the losing team has to take the walk of shame over to the winning team's house. So maybe you can incorporate that in your family.
That's a great idea. But no, it's a great rivalry. And, like I said, excited that Alabama's doing well. But certainly Auburn always wants to win the Iron Bowl, whether in basketball or football.
Oh, so, yeah, no doubt.
Well, Alabama Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, you've been such a good sport with us here today. And again, we salute your efforts and your initiatives to help keep Alabama driving to the top. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, hey, thank you. Enjoy being on, guys. Always good to talk sports and outdoors and politics. So y'all have a great day.
You too, Will. We appreciate that. We'll do it again soon. Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth joining us here this morning on Longshore and McKnight. A variety of really interesting subjects that we touched on with the Lieutenant Governor. Obviously a big sports fan, outdoorsman, and certainly loves this great state. You can certainly tell that in our time with him this morning. And you know, probably, Barry, one of the issues that probably, I guess, affects more people, you know, when you talk about the masses, would be widening of I-65. I mean, just think of the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are on that roadway every day. And how many times you hear, well, I got stuck in Calera because there was a traffic delay or an accident or a construction project.
For some reason, it's me and Thorsby.
Yeah.
You know?
And he made an interesting point. You're right. You cross the Tennessee line, it starts turning into a 6-lane highway pretty quick. Same thing as you go into Georgia on 85. Same type deal.
Yeah.
You're kind of going, wait a minute, where are we here? So, yeah, let's get the bulldozers going. And as I mentioned, any leftover concrete or asphalt, put it on Highway 80. We need to widen it while we're at it.
Yeah, there we go. Our appreciation to Will Ainsworth for joining us here on the program. Still to come, Josh Harris, Yellowhammer News, and the Phantom's Dog of the Day is coming up as well. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, joining us now is Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. Hey, Marianne, what's going on this week out at Marguerite's?
Hey, well, again, it's another great week at Marguerite's. I have another bit of scenery in front of me. It is our laser engraving machine. It's a new addition to Marguerite's. If you saw some of our specials over Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we had the engraved nameplates. We offer so much more than that. This really does open up a realm of possibilities for us to be able to customize pieces. Of course, we can personalize the bottoms of rings with wedding dates or anniversaries. We can do the great nameplates or the initial monogram necklaces. But we can also do Greek letters, and sorority recruitment will be coming up this summer. And it's just always just a great gift. Or graduation gifts. I know it's about to be March, so it's one of those things to kind of get on your radar for gifts. Cufflinks, you name it, we can do different vases or baby gifts. So this great piece of equipment, it's really big. It takes up like a huge portion of what used to be our break room, but we're just so excited about it, and we'd love to help you at Marguerite's personalize something for a gift.
You know, beautiful jewelry items that are personalized, engraved just means so much more. And that's what a full-service jeweler does at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. As I mentioned, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And, Marianne, you're open 7 days a week. So give us those hours of operation so our viewers and listeners can come by and see you.
Mm-hmm. We're open 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Wow. Fun times, exciting times out at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Go by and see all the great staff there for all of your jewelry needs. As I mentioned, a full-service jeweler. Thank you so much, Marianne. Okay, back at it, about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. I had to send Josh a text just to make sure he was up and going. I mean, I know it had to be a tough one for him on Saturday, 48-hour cooling off period. Who could get beat on a buzzer beater to lose to Tennessee? I mean, they're firing up Rocky Top. I mean, the ball hadn't even gone through the bucket yet. I can hear Rocky Top starting up, Dickie V going crazy.
They were singing Rocky Top in the Auburn bus, watching that on their phone.
You think?
Goodness sakes.
I wonder why.
You
know,
yeah,
it was a tough one. That was a tough one. And
up 4 points with 36 seconds to go. How in the world do you lose by 3 in regulation? How does that even happen?
You know, Barry, I don't even know if you could use the word choke. You know, when you choke a lead away, it's usually, you dribble it off your foot, or you shoot an air ball at a stupid time. But, I don't know if it's choking if you don't call a timeout when you're about to get whistled for the 5-second violation. And I don't know if it's, choking if you don't play good defense, because we've seen that happen a lot with this Alabama team this year, their lack of defense at times. So I guess it just goes on the shoulders of the head coach. I mean, should he have made some decisions is that choking? I don't think so. I just think it's poor coaching.
Yeah. My buddy Troy, I love this guy, listens and watches this show. He says, John, you forgot to say Bama lost on a buzzer beater to their biggest rival. Yeah.
Well, the shows we're not even an hour into it yet.
Yeah, we got to pace ourselves here, Troy.
Yeah.
Have to pace ourselves. Also, the way things stand right now in the SEC in basketball, Florida beats the heck out of Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M has lost 4 in a row, maybe 5.
Okay.
Before they host Auburn tomorrow night. Alabama doesn't play until Wednesday when they host Florida at 6 on ESPN2. Georgia beats the heck out of Texas. Vanderbilt again. The Commodores beat number 14 Missouri in overtime by 4. Watch out for the doors. Mississippi State wins at home against LSU. Ole Miss rebounds from the bad Auburn loss to beat Oklahoma in Oxford. South Carolina wins against Arkansas. South Carolina's kind of waking up just a little bit.
Hey, Bob from Pike Road's woken up as well. He's up early today. I think he's talking football. I'm ready. Let's tee it up.
John Dent says, Barry, what was the score for Auburn, Florida at Auburn, and how did that happen? Yeah, Florida won that one pretty good. They played well, hit a lot of shots. Now, Bob from Pike Road, he didn't point out that he's talking football, but that's what he does. He says, Bill, Auburn has won 6 or less games for 5 years in a row for the first time since 1952. That is called a famine, or in Bob from Pike Road's words, disaster in the pasture. Don't get me wrong. It is great to hear from Bob. Great to hear from Bob from Pike Road, because we surely hadn't heard from him really since Auburn beat Alabama in basketball in Tuscaloosa. So we were worried about him. I'm not surprised that it's the same thing that he trots out there all the time with the disaster in the pasture, but a little football conversation would be good right about now if we can throw that out there.
It would be. It would be.
Bob is our football only guy, so let's fire it up.
Let that sink in. 6 or less games in 5 years in a row. You know, when you put it that way, Bob, wow, I didn't really realize that till you brought that up today, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be different this year. Maybe so. We will see. Year 3.
I do want to ask you about this, and this is a serious note about Auburn football before we go to Josh. The announcement came Friday afternoon that Hugh Freeze was diagnosed with prostate cancer. John, that got everybody's attention. The head football coach of the Auburn Tigers, prostate cancer. Thoughts and prayers are with him. They caught it early. It is treatable and 100% curable, which is a blessing. And he says more than anything else, they wanted to make that announcement that this is what he's going through to once again to reinforce to people out there to get regular screenings and regular checkups. That is, It was hugely important in his particular circumstance. And John, it's hugely important for everybody.
Well, it really is, Barry. And I know a lot of men out there thinking, no, it won't happen to me, or I don't have time for that, or I really don't want to get my prostate checked. Whatever your reason is, it's foolish. It's stupid. Go do it today. It's extremely important that you do this. And look, you're talking to somebody that had prostate cancer. I've successfully been through it. Had a prostatectomy, had my prostate removed, and everything's great. And looking back on it, man, I just can't tell you, how glad that I did what I did to get healthy and get cured. And if you catch it early, that's a big key. And Hugh Freeze is 55 years old. I was 52 when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So catching it early is very important. I did, as Coach Freeze obviously has done as well. And there again, going through the process, whatever path he elects to go down, it's very important that he caught it early, and life goes on. And, I'm rooting for him and so happy to know that he did catch it early. But mainly, the most important thing, you have got to make sure that you have your prostate checked. And if you're getting an annual physical and you're over 40 years old, you're probably getting that done anyway. But for some of you out there that aren't, do it. Because I was that guy. It'll never happen to me. I'm too young.
Look, I'm in shape. I take care of myself. I eat right. It happens to other people.
It sure does.
It happen to anybody out there. And again, if you don't do it for yourself, I'm too busy. Take a look at your wife. Take a look at your kids. Take a look at your grandkids. Do it for them. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to be around when they're growing up.
You certainly do. So it's very important that you do that. And there again, you check it early, you'll be in good shape. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I do see him in the green room. I don't see
he doesn't have on his Canadian ear flap hat.
No, I guess he's gotten over that buzzer beater loss on Saturday. I don't know. We'll find out when we return at the top of the hour.
Yeah, Josh Harris, I think, just turned his camera off and stalked off. But hopefully we'll have him when we come back in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, here we are back at it, getting close to the top of the hour. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy here on a Monday. And I got to tell you, Barry, as I'm watching the Alabama-Tennessee game on Saturday, and I see the Vols attempting that inbound play. It was kind of a little different formation that you normally see, and I'm thinking, ooh, this looks a little crazy here. This looks a little funny. And they get the ball in, couple of dribbles, a shot from about, 40 feet or so?
33 feet officially.
33 feet.
Yeah.
As the ball is coming to its arc, heading toward the goal, the first person I thought of was our next guest, super fan Josh Harris. I'm thinking, if this goes in, he won't be able to make it through the night. Josh joins us here today. I see you look like you've recovered somewhat. You're in good shape. Tough loss on Saturday, Josh.
It was rough. It was I was actually speechless, which is crazy. That doesn't happen. My wife walked in. I was in another room. She said, "Are you okay?" I didn't hear anything. She was watching the game, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I don't know what just happened. I mean,
Josh,
I thought we had it. We sat there. I mean, anyways, everyone saw what happened. I don't need to break down the play-by-play.
Oh, I can if anybody wants to. Does anybody? Yeah. 42 seconds to go. Tennessee misses a layup, and you're thinking, okay, we got it. They foul Philon, misses a free throw, up 3, and you're thinking, they got a chance. Then he hits that second free throw with 36 seconds to go, up 4, 36 seconds. How do you score 7 points in 36 seconds, John?
It was interesting because you go back and look at it. All right, we lost, right? It stinks. We should have won the game. We blew it at the end. We put the ball in Philon's hands a couple of times at the end, right? Big plays, inbounding it. He was shooting free throws. He drove to the basket. He was the guy. True freshman, which you don't see too often right now, right? You see a lot of guys transfer. The positive part of it is that he has that real-time experience. Now he's got the game time experience late in the game on the road. If Sears needs to come out, we've got another guy that's a true freshman that got that experience. Now, do I agree with putting the ball in the true freshman's hands 3 times at the end of the game? Not necessarily, but do I want to disagree with Nate Oates? No. I mean, he's the guy. So he had a reason to do it, and we'll see what happened. And a lot of times when you're playing not as good at the end of the year, and I don't think we're playing bad. I think we're on the road at number 6 Tennessee. Their crowd, once again, kudos to them. They were as loud as could be the whole time. We got some good learning experiences out of it. We got some young guys making mistakes that hopefully he'll go back and learn from. And Sears looks like the animal that he is.
So I don't want to say I'm superstitious, Josh. I don't like to cross the path of a black cat or walk underneath a ladder, and I don't like Friday the 13th in particularly. But when Dickie V goes on this rant with about 30 seconds to go, this Bama love fest, roll Tide, baby, number 1 seed, the whole deal. Bama's up by like 4, and I'm thinking, Dickie, easy, tap the brakes. This game is not over yet. And then, boom, lo and behold, they lose it. And then he's, of course, turned into, look at Tennessee ball, going all crazy. I think, wait a minute, 30 seconds ago you were saying roll Tide. What's going on here? I knew at that point Dickie V that was the kiss of death for the Tide right there.
Dickie V was on one during the game too. I don't know if he is at that point now where I guess he can just say whatever he wants.
That's what I love about old people. Old people as a whole, Josh, they can just say whatever they want. And if you take them to task, they're like, well, I'm old,
Right. Yeah. No,
he's right at that point.
I sell technology to senior living communities. I'm in it all the time. I hear some of the most absurd stuff that I've ever heard. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
It was, I love Dickie V. I'm so happy to have him back. I mean, he's insane. So it's good to see him back. I'll never forget. I was a little kid, probably 7 or 8 years old. I've got a little signed autographed basketball at Dickie V, and I just thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah,
being a kid running down trying to get his autograph, yelling "Dick, Dick, Dick!" Yeah.
I got to think it's tough for a guy like Carl Ravitch. I'm listening to that game, and there's times he just had to talk over Dickie V.
Wait a minute, you're asking me whether or not it's difficult for somebody to wait for a chance to talk and having to talk over the other person? You expect me to have empathy for somebody like that? Are you kidding me? 27 years, Josh. Are you the kind of guy? Because I know people like this. Whenever Auburn plays, whenever Alabama plays football, they gotta be in a room by themselves because they got to go through their own personal angst and beat themselves up. They're not good company. You mentioned your wife came in and says, "Hey, are you okay?" Are you one of those guys that just when that's going on, you just have to just curl up and just gut your way through it all alone?
It's basketball more than anything. I mean,
Really?
it's just,
Oh, wow.
Basketball. It's just so back and forth for the last, if you're up by 7 with 2 minutes left, it's not over, right? If you're up by 10, it's not over. Anything can happen. So you're just going back and forth and back and forth. You can't take a breath. So yeah, I really need to. I'm not necessarily pleasant to be around. The first time I ever completely lost it in front of my wife was the UCLA game, the buzzer beater a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely pitched a temper fit, like screaming, yelling, stomping. It was a disaster. I don't know why we're still together after that, but thank
Bless
God.
her heart. Yeah.
Yeah,
thank God.
I made the statement earlier.
So when you had still, I mean, you were still hanging in there, still tied, 5-second violation. Were you screaming call a timeout, timeout,
call a timeout?
Yeah.
And what we got 2. It looked like he called it on 4-2. It was a quick. It looked a little quick.
Quick. Home cooking in Knoxville. Seen that before.
Yeah,
seen that before.
Yeah. But you got to call. I mean, you got 2 of them. You got to call a timeout. It reminds me of the Godfrey inbound days. Like, why can't we? Godfrey could never inbound the ball. Never, ever, ever.
Never thought about that.
You could never inbound. And that was. We can't. I just don't get it. I don't understand. We've had trouble getting the ball in all year. It's I think that was obviously the biggest one of the year. We've got to focus on that. I mean, it's killing us. Underneath the basket, we can't get the ball in.
So here's what I in looking ahead, Josh, I just don't have a lot of confidence in Alabama's next 2 opponents. Florida at home after a tough loss midweek with Auburn on the horizon at Neville. This could be an 0-3 streak for the Tide. I mean, they gotta buckle it up because I don't think you want to go into Nashville on a 3-game losing streak. You certainly don't want to go to Nashville and get put out of the conference tournament early. No. Because if those things start happening, you start, you're in the tournament, but that 1 seed now maybe becomes a 3 or a 4 seed.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's also good we're playing tough games this time of year. I mean, it stinks that we're losing them. We're not really getting blown out, except for Auburn kind of blew us out a little bit. We're hanging in every single game, and that's good for learning, right? We've got a lot of new guys on the team, and I think obviously you don't want to go 0-3. We got to win one of the 2. I'd love to beat Auburn on the road. That's going to be tough, right? I mean, it's going to be crazy in there. So you win one of those 2, I'm feeling pretty good. We make a little run in the SEC tournament, which I think we will. I mean, we're a great team. We just haven't finished recently, which anything can change. And so goes back to what I think it was a couple shows I was saying. Why are Duke, UNC, UConn so good? They make the tournament every single year. They're a top 4 seed most of the times, and they're consistent. So anything can happen. You can either make a run to the Final Four or you can lose to Yale.
Well, see, and that's my point.
I like that.
This is how it honestly could happen in my mind. Alabama loses 1 to Tennessee, just a gut punch. Maybe whatever happens at home against Florida, and then Auburn, maybe they lose it close or whatever. But you watch, it's all set up now. They may blow through the SEC tournament, big head of steam, go in as a number 2, maybe a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, rip through it all, and all of a sudden at the very end, they're back in the Final Four, and nobody even remembers the bad loss to Tennessee. Is that plausible?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure it is. Oh,
And Tennessee's not a bad loss. I mean, we shouldn't have lost the game, but it's number 6 Tennessee where we should have won. So we played well. We just didn't finish the game. And Sears is getting his identity back, which is huge. You need while it's great to have 10 players that can play, you need a leader. Sears is our leader, and it's always great when he's playing well. So he's playing better defense. I was a little worried about the cramping, maybe because he's just not that used to playing that hard of defense all the time. It looks good.
So let me pose the question this way. If Alabama goes into Auburn Saturday afternoon and gets blown out in Neville Arena, but they go deep in the NCAA tournament, is anybody going to care? I think the Tennessee thing will be forgotten about in a week. And if they lose at Auburn Saturday and they're in the Sweet 16 of the Final 8, nobody's going to remember that game.
It's not quite like football where you got to win the Iron Bowl. You got to do this. You got, if you, like the whole Michigan-Ohio State situation where they're freaking out.
Well, that was kind of my line of thinking, Josh, because you don't have to win the Iron Bowl and you can still win the national championship, which I think galls the other side even more. That they won the Iron Bowl, but Alabama ends up winning the Natty. Wait a minute, how does that happen?
And I memean, I think anything can happen. And to that, I think if we get blown out in Auburn, though, there's such a rivalry now in college. For me, we got to win against Auburn. We can't get blown out twice. It's tough. I don't know if we are, but it's going to kill me to go 0-2 against Auburn, right? I mean, it just is. I mean, it maybe not everybody, but we need to win one of those games because there's no reason we should get blown out twice. There's just no reason. They're talented, but we'll see. I see. All right.
I hate to be the doom and gloom guy.
No, you don't.
I don't think next Monday's appearance, Josh, is going to be a lot of fun.
That's fine. I like it. But that's how you want it to think. You don't want the target on your back, right? Do you want a target on your back? Maybe.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Josh Harris with us. Josh, as always, great to get a chance to talk with you. Look forward to next week. Thanks a bunch.
See you next week.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much, man.
Y'all
super fan Josh Harris joining us here today in better spirits after the Alabama loss in Knoxville.
Yep.
So hopefully next Monday it will be a little bit better. All right. Several things I wanted to touch on before we go to our next break. Barry, here's one that caught my attention. And when I saw it, obviously the first person I thought of was you because it's dealing with Major League Baseball.
Right.
And one of their all-time greats.
I know what we're talking about. Yes,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
Pete Rose passed away last September.
Yes.
6
it was
months
recent.
ago, 7-8 months ago.
Yep.
I saw over the weekend that President Trump wants to pardon Pete Rose. And does that get him into the Baseball Hall of Fame?
We'll talk about it. That's coming up. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry, serving the river region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the river region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
Welcome back in, everybody. About 15 minutes past the hour. Before we get into the discussion about Pete Rose and some news over the weekend that President Trump brought up, let's talk a little gambling. Pete Rose, gambling, we might as well.
Why not? It's a good entree into the subject.
Yes, the Phantom's Daily Dog. Before we get to today's Daily Dog, does anyone out there remember what Friday's Daily Dog was?
I don't.
Well, it was the Los Angeles Lakers at home as an underdog hosting the Los Angeles Clippers.
True story. That's exactly right.
The Lakers were catching 4.5 in that game, and if we check the score this morning, you'll see that the Lakers won the game outright.
By 4. Yep.
By 4.
Yep. 106 to 102. We were watching that game. I don't know why, because we were watching it on the way back to Troy. That's what it was, because we had won our game. Luka Doncic was pretty good. He had, I think, 3 3-pointers in the game. 5 straight wins for the Lakers. Didn't need the points.
No.
They win it out.
I mean, did anybody happen to mention as you were watching it, hey, I think this is the Phantom's Daily Dog game today?
I was telling everybody in the bus that, but probably shouldn't.
So, Barry, we were 2-2-1 on the week last week in our Phantom's Daily Dog. So we got to improve on that. So we're going to start this week off, Barry. We're staying in the association.
Yeah, there's not many college games today.
Well, there's a ton of them, but there's a bunch of games, quite frankly, from schools I just don't know a lot about. Some of them I've actually never heard of yet. Heard of before.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is, as a matter of fact. Texas Southern and Alcorn State. The Phantom doesn't want to maybe jump in on Queens University against Florida Gulf Coast. Maryland Eastern Shore against Coppin State.
That I did look at. Yeah. I will give you that. There were a couple of college games that caught my interest. But there's one that caught it even more in the NBA, and that's a game that will take place tonight in Dallas. The Sacramento Kings coming into Dallas to take on the Mavericks. The Mavericks are a 1.5-point dog at home. We're taking Dallas plus the 1.5 against Sacramento. These two teams very close in their division, so should be a very important game between these two teams to kind of get the upper hand on the other. We'll take Dallas plus the 1.5 against Sacramento in the Phantom's Daily Dog selection for Monday.
I got that circled. There we go. I like that. Mavericks only a game up on the Kings in the conference out there. Now, to catch you up, in case you haven't heard, the announcement has been made by President Trump that he is going to issue a pardon. You know, Pete Rose, all-time hit leader in Major League Baseball. He died last September, 83 years old. Rose spent time in jail for 5 months when he pled guilty to tax evasion charges. So he did spend time in prison for tax evasion, but he was kicked out of baseball by former Commissioner Bart Giamatti for betting on baseball. And because of that, is like the Black Sox as well. He is ineligible for the Hall of Fame, despite being the all-time hit leader in Major League history.
Okay.
President Trump issued this statement. Major League Baseball didn't have the courage or decency to put the late, great Pete Rose, also known as Charlie Hustle, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now he is dead. Will never experience the thrill of being selected, even though he was a far better player than most of those who made it and can only be named posthumously. What a shame. Anyway, over the next few weeks, I will be signing a complete pardon of Pete Rose, who shouldn't have been gambling on baseball, but only bet on his team winning.
Hey,
he never bet against himself or the other team. He had the most hits by far in baseball history and won more games than anyone in sports history. Now, he says this is Trump. Baseball, and I promise this came from the chief executive of the United States of America, and apologize in advance if this offends anybody.
I'm
just quoting President Donald J. Trump. He says, quote, baseball, which is dying all over the place, should get off its fat, lazy ass and elect Pete Rose, even though it's far too late, into the Hall of Fame.
Wait a minute.
Quote.
Did he tell that to the president of Ukraine or to the baseball commission?
To be honest, I think he told the president of the Ukraine that as well.
I think he did.
Baseball, which is dying all over the place, should get off its fat, lazy and elect Pete Rose, even though far too late, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yikes.
Gern, can you try to dig up a video of that so I can actually hear him say that? I mean,
it's true.
That is hilarious. That is awesome. I mean,
so,
for a guy that's not a huge baseball guy, I mean, I'll watch it every now and then, but I'm not a big baseball guy. I think people know that if you follow this program over the years. Nothing against it. If you love baseball, hey, that's great. But for the commander-in-chief, that's almost better than
baseball, which is dying all over the place, should get off its fat, lazy, and elect Pete Rose, even though far too late, into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
How in the world did I miss that? I mean,
now,
I love you, Beano Cook, but this one's just eclipsed your comment about the Iran-Contra hostages.
This is the daggum president of the United States. Anyway, Rose... ultimately, for years and years, he denied it. I didn't bet on baseball. He ultimately admitted it when he wrote a book in 2004, and a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball because of it. The guy who led the investigation that ultimately resulted in Rose's ban by Commissioner Giamatti, his name's John Dowd. He said in a statement to ESPN that, quote, Major League Baseball is not in the pardon business, nor does it control admission to the Hall of Fame. So, this is what the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, who I'm not a huge fan of, he says that they will consider President Trump's pardon in a consideration of lifting his lifetime ban and therefore making him eligible for induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. We'll see how that plays out. Barry, with the statement that Trump made about baseball, I shouldn't be expecting to see him throw out the first pitch on opening day somewhere this year.
Dying all over the place.
Okay, Gerd's pulled it up.
Yeah, that's the deal. Anyway. John Holiday, he chats in, he says, Trump's right on. Just look at the number of people in the stands at the vast majority of the games. Do they have fat, lazy? I don't even like to do that. Of course, I'll go with this. There are more pressing concerns in the world than the president dealing with the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I know it's just a statement and everything.
Yeah.
And heck, it sounds like it wasn't written for him. Sounds like that was just off the top of his head. At least I hope so.
I think it was.
I think it was. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Hey, now, Greg, earlier today, right at the top of the hour, I'm not sure why he pointed this question towards me.
You,
hey,
yeah.
I appreciate it, Greg. I don't have an answer. The only thing I can think of is transfers and NIL, which is hurting typical blue bloods in basketball.
He says, John, why do all the typical blue bloods suck now in basketball? Coaching turnover? Look at UConn, North Carolina, the Zags, Kansas, Louisville, Creighton, New Mexico, UCLA, Illinois. They don't suck. They're not as great as they usually are. This is what's funny. In the preseason top 10 from the AP, this was true a week ago. I haven't checked it since. In the preseason top 10 from the AP, 5 of those top 10 aren't even ranked right now. Not at all. Gosh, remember how everybody was all over UConn again? They're bringing back, I can't think of the kid's name. Watch out, Louisville. Well, not Louisville. Kansas has got Hunter Dickinson and, all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Those teams are struggling right now. I think it is because of NIL and the transfer portal. And there's no question in my mind.
It's some of these schools, Greg, excuse me, Duke, North Carolina, Villanova, some others, Virginia. These coaches said, I'm out. I'm done. This is not what I signed up for. All this transfer business, can't build a team, can't build a roster. NIL, they're done. So, yeah, I do think it has hurt some of those so-called blue bloods where other schools have kind of taken advantage of that might have a bigger NIL collective, have really prospered with the transfer portal. And the day and age of building depth and building rosters, similar to what Nick Saban did in football, these guys trying to do it in basketball, just harder to do it these days. They don't want any part of it.
That's also great.
I get it.
Great bit of it as well. Curtis says, I think Pete Rose served his lifetime ban. It's not a posthumous ban. So what's stopping them from accepting him into the Hall of Fame now?
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
And you think, there again, it's all NIL and transfers. We've talked about this so much about, the expense of college athletics. I also saw over the weekend, Barry, that the University of Texas, the big bad Longhorns that, people think, are just flush with cash and just rolling in oil money. They are raising their season ticket, football ticket prices. It's going to cost you more to go see the Texas Longhorns play football this fall. And they're passing it on to the fan, to the consumer. You're going to have to pay more to go watch Texas football. Now, I don't know of any news about Auburn or Alabama or any other school in the SEC raising season ticket prices. Seems like they do it a little bit almost every year.
Yeah.
But there again, how much more of that can the fans take? How many more ticket price increases, letters and emails begging and pleading you to join in on their NIL collective, whatever else they need you for in terms of facility upgrades or whatnot.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I went, wow, really? They're going to raise ticket prices?
It's expensive. And not only are they raising ticket prices, but they're like anybody else. Their athletic director, Chris Del Conte, is pulling a Greg Byrne and saying, hey, people, buy those tickets. Whatever we charge for them, pay it, buy those tickets. And while you're at it, contribute to the NIL. And, hey, don't forget our construction projects we got going on. We'll name something after you if you spend enough. And hey, don't forget as well, we've got to have these scholarships for the women's volleyball team and all that kind of stuff. It's expensive to be good.
So in conjunction with that, Barry, also I see that Texas A&M signed a deal, a guaranteed 15-year guaranteed media deal for $515 million. Guaranteed. No matter what happens, they're going to get $515 million from this media partner. And I'm thinking, well, that's just open up the floodgates for everybody else, because we're talking about ticket prices and NIL and construction costs. Have you a media partner, and you're going to have everybody in this league, everybody in this country trying to do the same thing.
I'm telling you.
The first thing I wondered, though, Barry, is that the first step in, say, if you've got a media partner, does that also mean that media partner is going to put his name on your stadium or on your field or on your basketball arena?
Well, it's happened before. There's so many different things that your media partner can be involved in, particularly if it's the right one. It's not just radio broadcasts or whatever, or in stadium creative stuff. Like at the University of Alabama, a great friend of mine named Roger Hoover does a lot of. He does the sidelines for football. He does play-by-play for baseball. He does sidelines for basketball. Also does a couple of podcasts. They've got a fantastic studio inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. They got one at Auburn too, at War Eagle Productions. Yeah. Those are sponsored. Those podcasts are sponsors. Those interviews they do with Alabama's great volleyball player or something like that. John, they're looking at every revenue stream they possibly can. Now at Troy, Troy's media partner is Playfly Sports, the same one as like Auburn and a bunch of others, Virginia. And Playfly Sports is responsible for a lot of it. They help out with opportunities in NIL and stuff like that as well. So yeah, they are thinking of anything they can possibly think of. And I believe anything can possibly be.
Playfly, Barry, is the one that A&M signed their deal with.
Yeah. I'm not. I think that's right, but as a matter of fact, I'm sure that's right. And it's more than just, again, radio and in-stadium signage. It's a ton of other stuff.
Gurn Jr. just put this up on the screen. Where Louisville plays, the KFC Yum Center, which is obviously Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yum is the brand. I think there's 3 or 4, maybe Domino's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell is all part of the Yum brand.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm with you. I think we're going to see that. I mean, the days of Bryant-Denny Stadium, just known as Bryant-Denny Stadium, is going to be, Acme Widgets at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saban Field.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And you're still going to have some of the old guard who's saying, I don't care that they do insist that their media partners and ESPN and ABC call it Golden Flake Stadium. It'll always be Bryant-Denny Stadium to me. Well, guess what?
Come on.
You don't count. Just because
I don't count.
Fred Smith in Double Springs, Alabama says, I don't care. It's always going to be Jordan-Hare Stadium. I ain't never going to call it Yellowwood Field. Guess what? They don't care. Call it what you want to. You can call it the Big Circus Big Top if you want to.
During the Alabama-Tennessee game, somebody sponsoring Thompson Bowling Arena, because I heard him say it, something at Thompson Bowling Arena at Summit Court. I don't know if it's Food City or something, but somebody is a sponsor of Thompson Bowling Arena. Heard it on the broadcast on Saturday. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little Alabama High School Athletic Association state tournament basketball. It was up in Birmingham last week at Legacy Arena. Some great games. And we've got a guy that, has been a part of it, talking about been a part of it for a long time.
Well, I've looked it up. You're right. Thompson Bowling Arena. It's Summit Court, named for Pat Summit. Summit Court at Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center.
Food City Center. There you have it.
And Bob Kesling, no wonder he's retiring. He's have to say that every time. Forget that.
So I know there was a big thing that happened at a Kroger in Auburn with an Auburn basketball player years ago. Maybe it could be Kroger Arena at Neville Stadium, or they'll figure something out. But shouldn't Kroger be sponsoring the arena?
Some people say Kroger has been sponsoring. All Kroger was that they had a Western Union station there. This is back in the days when people sent something called telegrams. Well, we'll come back with more in just a moment. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price. Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to Banking Above and Beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. River Bank and Trust. Okay, back at it here, about 25 minutes to the top of the hour. We're in for a treat here, Barry. We're going to talk some Alabama High School Athletic Association state basketball tournament action here. A big tournament last week. And our man, well, he's known as Gern Sr. Has he got his Vanderbilt windbreaker on today? The big Commodore fan. No, well, it doesn't look like it today. But Gern, let's talk some high school hoops.
All right, guys. First thing is, you ever been to a food city?
I actually have. It's a grocery store, right?
It's a grocery store, but not all of these have this, but most of the new food cities have a bar in the grocery store.
Oh my gosh.
And it is the bomb. Food City, believe it or not, Food City, the new ones, they're the bomb. So anyway,
I can get a cocktail and go up and down the aisles and look at the produce and all that.
You can get a cocktail instead of going up and down the aisles.
Test the craft brew, the local craft brew.
Man,
great being on today. Love the show. Big fan of the show. The way this all got started, and y'all may remember it. You're old enough to remember this. Back in the day, pre-1994, you had two different tournaments. You had the men's tournament that was in Tuscaloosa, and the women's tournament, which I think was in Jacksonville. I may not be right on that, but it was two different places. The boys and the girls never played together. So in June of 1993, I was practicing law in Birmingham, and one of my partners said, "Hey, Warren, I want you to, I know you're a member of the Birmingham Tip-Off Club. I want you to come to a meeting." And so it was myself, Edgar Weldon, John Clements, and a guy named Ron Edwards, and we met with Dan Washburn, who was the head of the AHSAA at the time. Okay, great guy. Kind of a tough guy, but a great guy. And he was no Bubba. He was no Bubba Scott, but he was a really forward-thinking guy. He said, "Hey," they said, "Hey, we want to bring these tournaments together. Let's have it at one place. Let's have it at Civic Center in Birmingham. We're going to get sponsors. We're going to pay you some money, and we're going to treat it like the Final Four." And that's what they did. Matter of fact, I'll hold it up. This is the first tournament committee badge I had where I could have all access to the tournament. We had to quit calling it the Final Four because there's some naming rights and things like that.
Right.
But they brought them all together. It was kind of an interesting first year, kind of getting the glitches out, but it was fantastic. I mean, people, I can't tell you, purists started coming out, and a lot of people hadn't seen girls basketball before. But then you have boys game, girls game, boys game, girls, and then just go throughout the week, and it caught fire. One of the coolest things, though, I gotta mention this because it's still just, I get chills when I think about it. There's a guy from Haleyville up in Winston County. He shows up on Tuesday at the first session. We're getting ready for the first session. He says, "Hey, I've taken my boy out of school. What can we do to help? And we're like, hey, can you just be in charge of the balls? Y'all bring the balls out for each team and do it. I think that family is still doing that 31 years later. I think he died, but his son took over. And I think his son and his grandson do it. It's just one of those things and they just kept coming back and coming back. And then what we would do is we'd send a representative from the tournament to each of the regionals. And I was the Troy regional guy.
Okay.
And so that second year, it was 95. I go down there and I'm Mr. Official. I get to give them whatever little trophy they win the regional. I give them their trophy.
Oh, nice. The old.
And that's how I got to know Johnny Williams was the guy, God rest his soul, great guy. He was fantastic. And so I go there and there are 3 teams that end up winning state championships from that regional. And they were unbelievable. It was JD, had Brian Williams and 2 other guys that went to Murray State. I can't remember their names. They played at Murray State.
Right.
And then Central Coosa, and I'll get back to Central Coosa. And then Brantley. And Brantley had a kid who was not a Persons. They had graduated, first party graduated, but he played football at Auburn. He signed to play football, really athletic kid. So, but back to Central Coosa. I'm watching them, and I'm looking at this kid. And they're good, and they're just freakishly athletic. And there's this 6'2", 250-pound guy in the middle. They cannot stop.
6'2", 250, not 215, 250.
No, 250. And I'm saying, man, and this is, I guess they're 4A, maybe 4A. And so they go on and win the state. And I'm like, God, I got to follow this guy. And I kind of lose track of him until he's a senior, and I'm watching the draft. And he played at Southern Miss, Adalius Thomas, who then goes on to the NFL, played 10 years in the NFL, won a Super Bowl. But he's now, he's an edge rusher or whatever, and he's 6'2", 270, 80 then.
Wow.
And then, and just to talk about, I love me some Central Coosa out of Rockford. I mean, it is. They put out more talent there than any school in the state. And here's the example. I'm watching the tournament again a few years later. And they got this big old dude. He's okay, but he's just a brute. And then I kind of lose track of him. And then I see, oh, shoot, he's in the NFL. It's Justin Tuck, who played
from Kellyton, Alabama.
Alabama, Central Coosa. Yeah. But they also had a guy named Jamario Moon who never made the grades. He went JUCO and then ended up in the NFL, in the NBA. I mean, so they were an amazing school. But the big thing to me in all of this was girls basketball. It really gave them a platform. And I'm sitting there. I can't even remember what year it was, late 90s, something like that. And I'm loving my local school. So I see Eufaula's in it. And I'm like, well, interesting. Girls basketball is dominated by the northern schools, Fife, Pisgah, Sullivan, all the Sand Mountain schools. I mean, that's great basketball. And so I go to see Eufaula play, and they got a sophomore freshman who's like 6'2", 6'3", and she is fantastic. Well, fast forward, they win a couple of state championships. Her name's Gwen Jackson, played for University of Tennessee. And just amazing. But I tell you, all right, I know y'all have got Bart as a guest many times.
Yeah.
And I knew Bart when Bart was at Winfield High School. I didn't know him, I knew of him because I hate to say this, be redundant, but I get chills when I think about this moment. So it's a Tuesday, Wednesday night game. I can't remember. It's early night. Maybe it's end of the week. Maybe it is an early finals game. So they probably like a Thursday night. And Sullivan had this player, Nicole Caruth. She went on to play at Alabama. She was fantastic. They went to I don't know how many they went to overtime, couple of overtimes. We're at the BJCC. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. There are 12 to 14,000 people there to watch basketball. And
Wow.
it is crazy. I mean, when I say it's crazy, it is electric. It's, it's just nonstop. Now, they had won a big game in the first round. Great game. Bart had a great game. I don't know what he did in the finals, but they caught RC Hatch, which RC Hatch, I think they won this year. I mean, they are
Irwin Dudley's from RC Hatch.
Irwin Dudley's RC Hatch, Uniontown. And if you've ever been to Uniontown, don't slow down. You got that one light, and you're heading on down Highway 80 or whatever it is. So, yeah. So I mean, it's look, it's great. This year was great. There are a lot of good teams, but what was really cool was you'd see somebody and you go, man, that kid's got a chance. And I remember watching one year this kid just jump out of the roof. I mean, he was a freak, just all over the place. Next thing you know, he's at Auburn, and it's Chris Porter. I mean, he was, if you ever saw him play, unbelievable. Yes. And then Gerald Wallace, who played at Alabama in the NBA. I mean, Roy Rogers. I mean, you can just go down the list, all these kids who came through and played. And it's just been and it's weird to think it's 31 years. It's been 31 or 32 years. Well, 31 or 2 years. So
couple of great things about it. Or my buddy Troy, who lives in Troy, as a matter of fact, he says, I had a brush with greatness with Pat Summit when she was watching Gwen Jackson play in the regionals down in Troy. That's one of the things. And I've done radio for the state finals. I've done television with Jim Farmer for the state finals before. And you see all those coaches up there, and you're thinking, hey, son of a gun, that's Don DeVoe, or is that Billy Donovan over there? Stuff like I used to love that stuff.
Yeah. No,
so Warren,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you this. You talked about so many teams from around the state, and I'm hearing you reel them off, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard of them. On a local level, MA won the 3A state championship on Friday against a team that I think I've heard of, but I'm not real sure where they're located. Mars Hill Bible.
Bible. They've been a dominant North Alabama basketball team for years.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, they had a player, number 4, broke his hand, and he's right-handed. He's dribbling left-handed, and they still can't stop this kid. I mean, he jumped off the screen as I'm watching. I'm thinking, who is number 4 from Mars Hill? The guy's got a cast on his hand, dribbling left-handed, and just, I mean, he didn't slow him down much. He still played pretty well.
Yeah, and that's, all of this is cool, and it leads to other things. Like I was back in the day, was a member of the Monday Morning Quarterback Club in Birmingham, and we took this and did football as well. So they had never had it all in different places, and so they brought Legion Field, and then now you see where it is now. Cities are vying for it. They're paying money to have people come to have the Super. We were Super 6 then. Now it's Super 7.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
What else?
It's all good.
It is great. And speaking of the Super 7, I know I've brought this up before, but it gives me an opportunity to do it again, talking about the football state championships. We also have incorporated Special Olympics flag football at the Super 7. So that's part of the Super 7 event. Our Special Olympians play at that event, play flag football. So that's always fun and exciting for them and their families as well. So that is awesome. So, man,
I doubt y'all talk about girls flag football much, but it's huge. It is huge.
Yeah.
They're getting scholarships. They're getting college scholarships to play flag football. Like Central Phoenix City was the number 1 team in the
nation.
Country. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. They got a girl who's going to Alabama on some sort of a scholarship. She's the quarterback. I'm telling you, that girl can sling it. It was big time stuff. Good stuff.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I was going to say
please
something.
don't. It's a family show, okay?
I'm
It's
not
a
going to say
family.
anything.
And we know improperness is in your vocabulary. So that's
Yeah, it is.
we've known that for many years now. So
big shout out for Montgomery Academy, the girls, the boys, and beating Lee Scott.
Beat Lee Scott and then beat Mars Hill Bible. Beat Mars Hill for the championship.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, and then the Trinity girls. How about this, Barry? The Trinity girls' third straight state championship. 3 in a row. How about that? That's awesome.
So going back in the history books, and I probably should not bring this up, and Gurn Jr., you can edit this as if it's bad, but back in the day, the Trinity girls were fantastic, like in the 90s. And Charlie Graddick's daughter, Corinne, was the point guard, and she was a player. And so this was early on, and now everybody accuses the academies of recruiting. Well, they did. They went out and found a girl that lived out somewhere in the county, maybe in the city limits. And she showed up the next year, and they were going to be dominant. And the AHSAA said, you can't, you got to sit out a year. If you're not, it wasn't a legitimate move. So that was Trinity in the 90s. But and then the boys, they've had success with their boys in the past, and girls, and
good stuff.
St. James too. I mean, look, the Montgomery schools, Park Crossing, I mean, they've all do really well in basketball. So that's good. And it breeds itself,
It certainly does. Man, Gurn, we appreciate your input today. Some great history, some great stories about this event that has just become, magnificent. It's grown and grown and grown, and it is a great thing we have here for our young athletes in the state.
All right, guys, y'all have a good day.
Appreciate it very much.
Man,
how about giving Gurn Jr. the right to edit him if he wants to? Has that ever happened in the Gurn house?
No, I don't think that's ever happened. No doubt.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. It's our Monday show in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
This isn't going to work. No matter what we say, some people still drive drunk. But we're Budweiser. Giving a damn is what we do. So, if you think it's okay to drive drunk, if you think it's something that's debatable, or you just simply don't care, this Bud is not for you. Give a damn. Don't drive drunk. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Man, we are getting close to the top of the hour, about 6 minutes away. Let's check out our River Region Straw chat line.
Yep.
We got a lot of chatting going on today.
Well, Dennis checks in late. Dennis Mitchell, Lifetime Achievement Award winner, says, John and Barry, last night on YouTube, when Vince Russo stood Hulk Hogan up at the beach at the Bash 2000s, both of you stood up to Hulk Hogan at the beach at the Bash 2000. Both of you should watch it sometime. Thank you, Dennis. I'm going to do that. I don't have much spare time today, but I'm going to watch on YouTube where Vince Russo stood up to Hulk Hogan at the Bash on the Beach in 2000. It's awesome.
So, Barry, do I just go to YouTube in the search bar, put Vince Russo / Hulk Hogan pop up?
You might be able to put Bash at the Beach in there, and boom, it goes right to there. That's great. A lot of conversation about Auburn.
Wait a minute. I didn't think anybody stood up to Hulk Hogan. I mean, the Hulkster.
That's why you ain't heard of Vince Russo ever since. I think you put him in his place. A lot of people talking about Auburn and Alabama basketball out there and about the tournament. Does anybody out there, show of hands, I'm looking, anybody out there have been waiting and waiting? Yep, there you go.
Hey, it looks like the Hulkster's been in a canning booth.
He's like 77 years old or something right now. Just in case you're wondering, yes, we did get some relatively early conversation about the Auburn game, the Alabama game from Robbie from Greenville. If anybody, first of all, this morning, Robbie from Greenville, relatively early for him. Robbie from Greenville says he thinks what needs to be discussed is the terrible officiating at the end of the Alabama-Tennessee game. It was terrible. We need to, Robbie likes to tell us what we need to discuss, and I respect him for that. He's the voice of the fan. Robbie says that the questionable officiating at the end of the Alabama-Tennessee game needs to be discussed, in his humble opinion.
So let me think here. Questionable officiating. So maybe was that 5-second count off too quick, Robbie? Was maybe the clock operator a little slow turning the clock on that inbounds play?
Because I think it was JD or Curtis or somebody who said, man, they gave him 6 seconds to inbound that ball, and he didn't do it. Yeah.
I'd like to know, Robbie, do you think maybe Nate Oates should have called a timeout? Maybe during that inbound play attempt? Maybe could have drawn up a better defense for his players to play? I don't know. I'm just asking some questions, Robbie. I'd like to know your thoughts about that.
Well, Robbie also says that Alabama will not look past Florida. Number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament could be on the line in this game. Both Alabama and Florida are number 2 seeds, according to Joe Lunardi. Robbie, I agree with you. Well, Alabama shouldn't look past Florida. To guarantee that they won't, I don't know. Robbie says no Alabama fan should look past Florida. Yeah, good luck with that, Robbie. Come on. I only care about Alabama returning to the Final Four, no matter what Auburn does.
Well, Robbie, I hate to break the news to you, but Alabama's not making it to the Final Four.
Oh, John.
Record, cut, paste. They are not making it to the Final Four. If they continue to have the lapses that they've had all season long, and their defensive effort is not where it needs to be, and if they get cold behind the three-point arc, which they've been known to do, they're not going to make it to the Final Four. And what leads you to believe all those things are going to just magically change for the better?
Well,
I see it. If Alabama is a number 1 seed, Barry, is it accurate to say they would be the weakest number 1 seed?
Well, the other ones would probably be, I haven't looked at Lunardi lately. The other ones would probably be Auburn, Duke, maybe Houston still.
Houston. Yeah, I'm thinking Houston.
Houston's defense is 10 times better than Alabama's. I can tell you that right now. But Robbie says, quote, I only care about Alabama returning to the Final Four no matter what Auburn does, end quote. Robbie, I'm going to go Ron Burgundy here. I don't believe you. I think you care very much what happens at Auburn because of your recent past of picking Auburn to lose virtually every game that they play down the stretch. I think it does matter to you about Auburn.
We're going to have 22 hours to kind of think about this.
Yeah.
Well, we come back live tomorrow morning at 7. But of the starting 5 at Alabama,
right?
Who's the weakest link?
It's not. I'll give it to you. It's not very weak. It's pretty dadgum good.
I'm going to give you my my thoughts. And y'all can chew on this, and you can fire off nasty chats. That's fine. It's okay if you don't agree with me. Actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah, he actually prefers those, to be honest.
I think Grant Nelson has digressed. I don't think Grant Nelson's the player today he was this time last year.
Nelson ends up with 7 points against Tennessee. 0 of 2 from 3-point range. He did have 12 rebounds, but offensively, I just think they ask him to do too much. You know, he's 6'11". They make him guard a post a lot of times. Him and Amore, they need to. He's not strong enough to do that.
No,
Greg
he's
says
got to step
Stevenson's
his
the
game
weakest
up.
link. Stevenson hasn't been a starter. I got to go along with Amore. Youngblood's been good, although he was
the thing about
quiet.
I agree with you. I thought Youngblood defensively, that's where he's weak. I thought Saturday in Knoxville, he did not play well defensively.
Yeah.
Got to step that up. There again,
he was not.
We
the Lone
talk a lot
Ranger
about defense when it comes to this Alabama team. All right, tomorrow we will check in with our man Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com. Travis Ryer on YouTube, talking Tide with Travis. A lot of good stuff tomorrow. And, we'll carry that on. What's the weakest link of this Bama team? Think about that over the next 22 hours till we meet again.
Very proud to have had the time today on the show from Alabama Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth on the program, Josh Harris, Yellowhammer News, Warren Matthews.
How about that?
You kidding me? How about that? Yeah, for John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.